What's up, internet world, and welcome back to the channel. Today I bring you the BMW 340i xDrive M Sport. I want to give a big shout out to one of our viewers, Rocco, for letting me borrow his car for the afternoon. You can find Rocco right here. And if you have a car that you'd like us to review, please hit us up on Instagram because we'd love to come to you and review your car. I personally haven't been a big fan of BMW's design over the years, but take a look at this car. Now for 2020, they do not make a BMW M3, but they do make a BMW M340, which is basically an older generation of a 335 that they've bumped up to a 340, but they make an M Sport package, which is crazy. And let me tell you why. Number one, they make them in two versions. They make them in an all-wheel drive and they make them in rear-wheel drive. Most other brands only make them all-wheel drive. I'm talking to you, Audi. So what's the big deal? Well, here's the big deal. No more manual, but that's okay. You know why? Because this car does 0 to 100 in 4.4 seconds if you bought the rear-wheel drive and 4.1 seconds if you got the four-wheel drive or all-wheel drive or xDrive like they call it. Now that might not sound like much, but let me tell you this. Actual guys that have owned this car have actually got 0 to 60 times in 3.8 seconds. Now let me tell you how fast 3.8 seconds is. My R8 5.2 V10 dedicated to speed does 0 to 100 in 0 to 62 Americans in 3.5 seconds. 3.5 seconds, 3.8 seconds. Just fucking. All right, my hands are getting dirty. Come on, BMW. Wow, this is a hard one, man. Oh, is it a double pull? Maybe it's a double pull. Aha, it's a double pull. That is amazing. One pull, releases it. Two pull, pops it. Sick. All right, back to the engine, because this is how it gets to 3.8 seconds. Crazy numbers. It makes 382 horsepower and 379 foot-pounds of torque. So how does it do this? Well, let me explain to you how. This has a 3-liter single turbo. Wait a minute. I was just at the BMW store and they said it's got a twin power turbo or twin something turbo, so it's twin turbo, right? Wrong. It's not a twin turbo. That's BMW at its marketing games. It's actually a power turbo. They put power in the middle. I don't want to bore you to death, but it has to be a twin turbo, right? It makes 30 more horsepower than the Audi, and it's half a second faster than the Audi. So it must be a twin turbo because it's exactly the same. Makes the same amount of torque, it just makes less horsepower, and it's the exact same displacement. Guess what? It's actually a twin scroll turbo, and what that essentially means is it's more compact, and it's got blah, blah. Basically, it makes more power. It's faster and makes more power. That's how they do it. All right, so who's the competition? We've got the Audi S4, we've got the Genesis G70, we've got the Cadillac CT5V, we have the Kia Stinger, and finally we've got the C43 AMG. To me, the best all-around car was the Audi S4 before SUVs started taking over the world. Now this car is tagged exactly against an S4, not an RS3 or anything smaller, because it's a totally different drivetrain. So for me, this and an S4 goes head to head, and not a BMW M3 that's been pegged against the S4 forever. Let's talk about the front end. LED laser headlights on a four-door sedan. Awesome. Kidney-shaped BMW grille, pretty typical, but this one's black and it's active, which is cool only because the new 4 Series has these ugly things that go straight down. Google it. These actually slide out the way to get airflow in the engine. Accents. I love the accents on this car. I love the way that it pivots outward. And I like the wide body stance in the front, not just the back. If you didn't know, this is BMW Laser. And if you didn't know it was an M package, there's lots of M pieces here. So this car is equipped as about $60,000 and it's fully jammed, except for it does not have the gesture feature. This car doesn't have any pieces of aluminum or steel or anything resembling shiny. It is blacked out completely. Do you guys think this looks like an older generation E550 a little bit from the B-pillar back? I don't know what it is, but this looks like an E550 But not only that, this car actually looks more like a 5 Series or really a really old generation 7 Series. What do you think? Comment below. So let's talk about the back end. This is my favorite part about the car. One, we've got real exhaust. And if this was my car, I'd be removing badging, both of them. This X-Drive badge and this 340i, and I'd move this BMW M badge right to the bottom here, like the old school ways. But look at her hips. Look at the hips of the back of this car. Something new and exciting, check this out. This might sound crazy, but for a German car, it's powered in a 4-door sedan. What's not awesome? This is still BMW, and Audi still does this better, is the interior fit and finish. But not just the interior. This carpeting is better on an Audi, not to mention a bit chintzy. For those that don't know, there are 2 buttons on the back here. One is to close the trunk, but the other is when you hit it and you walk away, the car automatically locks. Now I'm inside the car and we're going to talk about the interior, but before I do that, I want to talk about the key. And here's the cool part. Not that it has the M logo on the side of it or the seats, but the fact that this car has remote start. Now I don't know what that sounds to you in your brain, but remote start on a German car, freaking awesome. Haha, it worked. The dash is all black. Nothing going on in here. Pretty awesome. Now, how do we start it? I was told, hit the brake, press the start button, and everything lights up. And then she dies. All right, so I'm in the car now, and I really like the steering wheel. It is from some sort of a 5 Series, because I've seen this steering wheel in a 5 Series, but the seats are very comfortable. A little bit more narrow than an Audi, which is kind of strange considering this thing has remote start, and remote starts is generally for the North American market. So let's do some tests. Armrest, it doesn't slide backwards and forwards, just goes up and down. Disappointing. Secondly, the headrest test. Audi, you got it on quality, man. I can feel the styrofoam in this thing. Crunch. Anyways, back to driver stuff. Paddle shifters. I like how this paddle shifters are nice and high. They're not hidden below so I can't see them. Now, one of the knocks on the car is it doesn't have cooled seats, but I don't think it really matters because these are awesome seats. One thing I do like about BMW is they stick to their roots. My folks used to have a 1989 535i, and the color scheme and the lighting in that car is identical to this. These lighting is a dull red, if you call it, or an amber, and it's identical to that car back then, about 30 years ago. So let's talk about these seats. These seats are black Vernasca leather with the M Sport logo, which is freaking awesome. And if you don't know what the M Sport logo is, let me show you the key again. So in terms of this color scheme inside the car, there is no piano black. It does have a wood trim, which they call the oak grain open poured finish. Pretty long, but it is nice. It's nice and clean, and they do have this little reveal cover here where it does open up to your wireless charging and 2 cup holders and a USB. There we go, wireless charged. I really like how the shifter is really small and short. I mean, this is really grippy. It was kind of like that S2000 I reviewed last week. Take a peek. It does have Bluetooth microphones on the driver and the passenger side, not just the driver. I still do like the center console HVAC controls on the Audi better, but this center display is awesome. Let me show you. I like the fact that you can touch the screen as well as using iDrive at the same time. So you can manually do it this way, or you can use the cursor. Here's a flaw, BMW. I have a blank button, but it pushes everything down. Same with the Sport, Comfort, and Eco Pro. Why does the whole thing go down? Going down for real. I don't know about you, but when you buy a car like this, it's got all the crazy cameras, but I still like to turn my head and take a peek and actually look in my blind spots. So when I go from Sport to Eco, it changes the color scheme if you take a look at it. It goes from RPM to miles per gallon. It's a mind shift there. So as far as the cluster goes, you can get the battery readout, horsepower and torque, your G meter. Pretty sweet. I'm not really a big fan of the font on the lettering, to be honest, for whatever reason. Just the display of it looks kind of weird to me. I would really prefer to have an analog gauge on an M car, but hey, this is what it is, I guess. Here's another cool feature. Check this out. I open the door and it turns red. Close the door, it follows the lighting of the car and goes blue. Open the door, red. All right, so I'm in the 340, M Sport, and we're gonna take it for a ride now. I've got it in sport mode, which I really like because it automatically deactivates the ESP, or the stability program. My seatbelt just tightened up. Typical German stuff. I can hear a bit of downshifting in the background, not super loud at the moment. Heads-up display is nice and clean, actually. It looks really good. The only strange thing about it is the heads-up display, along with the dash, is it has a bar that shows you the RPM, but then it's got the lines above it that actually scroll back and forth to show you what RPM you're in, as opposed to just having the bars to light up. So it's kind of a two-step sort of system here. I can already tell this has a little bit less insulation than the S4. Part of it is I was looking at the interior wheel wells and they were sort of plasticky as opposed to carpeted-like material, which tells me that BMW wants people to hear the cabin a little bit more than an Audi does, which would make sense because this is an M car, or an M performance, or M sport car. My wife always tells me I gotta shave this off before I do these reviews. What do you guys think? Shave it or keep it? B. Acceleration. Shave. Oh man, this thing pulls. Pulls nice, smooth, very smooth. I got a look from a guy driving Mustang GT. Hey y'all. In terms of suspension, it's very rideable. It's not super firm, handles well. It definitely has a more direct feel than the Audi S4, and I bring that up because I've had several Audi S4s, so I apologize. But I am going to be reviewing the Cadillac CT5V, so I'll tell you guys how that is against this car. Tighter cabin for sure. I can see the hood, my surroundings, blind spots are pretty big B-pillar, but nothing crazy. It's got all the tech you need anyways, but not much turbo lag. It does putter a bit, so fine cornering here. Whoops, that's a water bottle. Oh, she's nice, man. Oh, I felt the exhaust there. That is funny. This is an all-wheel drive car, and the back just give me a little bit of a squiggle. Kind of cool, BMW, kind of cool. It is quieted. The cabin is quieted, so I'm not sure if there's a setting in the car where I can make the exhaust sound a bit louder, but I don't know how this car is all-wheel drive. This feels very rear-wheel drive biased, that you can have some fun with it. So I envy the guys that live in environments where there's lots of winding roads. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of that. A lot of straight. It's a fun little zippy car. You know what I hate about German cars? That when you're in the car, you actually don't know how fast you're driving. Like, I just feel like I'm getting into it and I'm breaking every speed limit out there. Just gonna pop my window down a little bit here. Sounds magical. I think there's about an equal balance between the exhaust sound and the engine sound. It sounds like it's a little bit quieter. It's like they forced it to be quieter. So I know that I'm missing something in the tech here that's not plumbing in the sound, because there's no way what I'm listening to right now, it's plumbed in. So let's get launch control going here. Hold sport down. Sport plus. All right, foot to the ground. Let's go. Didn't create any boost, but man, this thing is fast. It's deceptively fast. I don't feel like I'm driving fast, but I know I'm driving fast because I'm looking at the speedometer here and the heads-up display, and I know I'm freaking hauling. What I like about these cars, very similar to the R8, is that when I put it in launch control or this mode, the shifts are faster than in any other circumstance. So it knows to actually get the shifts as fast and as tight as possible. Thank you, engineering, and thank you, software. Let me fix my hat. All right, dads. Well, if you want a car that'll embarrass everybody else on the street with your kids in the back, I think this is the car for you. With a little bit of fun, yes, sir. Now that rattling is not the car, it's all the other junk I have in here that's taking these videos. God, this car is fun to drive. it's just so deceptively fast that you can get into some big trouble with these things. Man, this car is quick. Oh my God, this thing is beastly. But it's controlled, and this is something that BMW was always trying to get with Audi, and the fact that they have it now is awesome. There's always this X-Drive versus Quattro fight, but there is no brake-in traction here, none. And I know we're not in wintertime, but even still, there is brake-in traction in an RS3. There is brake-in traction in some other cars, but BMW has it. No brake-in traction. One thing I do notice they've done is they've got a lot more popping sounds than a lot of other manufacturers. Maybe not Benz, but whoever drives this car needs to actually take account of how many pops you can do in one. That was about 8. I got like 9 there. Count the pops. Count the corn pops, guys. How many corn pops are in the muffler? 9? 9 pops. I'm sure there's a record of 11 pops or 15 pops. What BMW does very well is its identity. Every car can drive small, even though it is a larger car, but BMW seems to just want to enjoy it more for some reason. Goes through the gears really nicely. Heads-up display. When you are breaking the speed limit sign actually flashes. That is different than Audi, which stays still. All right, guys, I hope you like this review on this BMW 340 xDrive M Sport. Now, most of these cars are leased. So is this thing a lease car or an ownership car? You let me know in the comments below. And the other thing is, would you like to see this in a wagon? Comment below, let me know, and as always, thanks for subscribing.